Remember light guns? Remember having enormous plastic weapons cluttering up your house that you'd use for a week tops and then stick in a cupboard somewhere and only remember existed when you went to pull out some bed sheets? Good times! Now if you're like me, and you often find yourself scouring eBay for dirt cheap Mega Drive games from time to time, then you may notice a particular cartridge often show itself as one of the cheapest. This cartridge is emblazoned with the title Menacer, and it's cheap for a reason. It doesn't work without a particularly expensive lightgun peripheral that only works on old CRT tellies. In 1992, Sega released the Menacer, a Mega Drive light gun and a successor to the Master System's Light Phaser. The Menacer is made up of 3 components: a pistol, shoulder stock and sights, and it interacts with software via an infrared sensor box that also needs to be hooked up to the Mega Drive and placed above your TV. The Menacer works by using the infrared sensor in conjunction with the CRT's scan lines to track the crosshair on screen, and as a result it doesn't need to flash the screen and display a white hitbox to register a hit. This means it's also a great way to play light gun games for people who suffer from photosensitive epilepsy. Sadly, it wasn't widely adopted by developers, with only 3 Mega Drive games supporting it and 5 Mega CD games, and 4 of those are exclusive to North America. In order to best showcase the peripheral, the Menacer was bundled with the Menacer cartridge, which contains 6 minigames that all make use of the peripheral. Developed by Western Technologies, this minigame collection features the games Pest Control, Space Station Defender, the ToeJam and Earl spin-off Ready Aim Tomatoes, Wack Ball, Frontline and Rockman Zone. We kick things off with Pest Control, which sees you shooting away bugs who are hastily making their way to a pizza that has been bizarrely left on a kitchen floor. The gimmick to the game is that you can only see a very limited portion of the screen at any time, and you have to move your crosshair around to get a better look at the surroundings. As the levels progress, different bug types are introduced, and the bigger bugs drop bombs that can be detonated to destroy bugs near it, but it can also destroy parts of the pizza as well. You also have to worry about an overheating gauge at the bottom of the screen that doesn't allow you to fire if you deplete the gauge entirely. While this is a very simple little shooting gallery game, the bizarre premise and quirky visuals really make it stand out, and it's often one of the main games I think about when it comes to the Menacer. The next title is Space Station Defender, and guess what? It's another shooting gallery! This game tasks you with shooting randomly appearing aliens that appear in pods, and then you have to shoot them in order before they fire back. You also have to worry about recharging your weapon by hovering over the power bar at the bottom of the screen between waves of enemies. This game is sadly a little repetitive and lacks the variety needed to keep your attention for a decent amount of time. Next up is Ready Aim Tomatoes, which is also one of the more iconic Menacer minigames in this collection. Sadly, it's another shooting gallery game, but it does offer up some variety that makes it a little bit more interesting than some of the other games in this collection. The screen auto-scrolls to the right and you have to shoot tomatoes at anything that moves in order to get a high enough score to clear the stage. You can make the screen scroll back to the left a bit by shooting the big arrow signs if you miss anything. There are baskets of tomatoes to shoot to replenish your stock, there's a screen clearing bomb you can shoot to take out multiple enemies at once, and there's also a star tomato that lets you rapid fire tomatoes with unlimited ammo for a brief amount of time. What with this being themed around ToeJam and Earl, the whole presentation is a lot more cartoony and humorous, and as a result it definitely leaves an impression. You also get some decent visual variety, as the stages don't always look like the same grassy landscape all the time. Next up we've got Wack Ball, which is probably the most unique game in this collection. Wack Ball plays like a mixture of breakout and air hockey as you guide your puck around the tables, smacking a ball into an arrangement of blocks that all must be changed to a different colour in order to beat the stage. As the game progresses, you're offered different stage designs, power-ups, power-downs, and gaps start to appear in the edges, which can make you lose a ball if you don't save it in time. Sadly, the visual presentation really suffers, with the backgrounds often being this gaudy mess of lurid kaleidoscope vomit that is particularly harsh on the eyes. If you can get past it though, Wack Ball is one of the more unique Menacer games in this collection. Next up we've got Frontline, which, can you believe it, is another shooting gallery game, where you have to shoot military ground vehicles and aircraft using a machine gun with unlimited ammo, and some more devastating missiles that are far more limited. You'll want to spray the ground vehicles with the machine guns, and save the missiles for the faster moving aircraft to progress through this title. Sadly, this one is a very drab, visually underwhelming and repetitive slog that takes a good few stages before the enemies even start firing back. There's nothing going on here that looks like it needs a Mega Drive to be rendering it, and this title could easily be confused for a Master System game. Finally, we have Rockman Zone, which is another bloody shooting gallery game and has absolutely nothing to do with Capcom's Rockman, or Mega Man as he's known in the West. This is your bog standard criminal cutout shooter, where you have to shoot enemies holding weapons and avoid shooting innocent bystanders. The game is made ridiculously easy as it shouts "shoot" at you when an enemy is on screen, and doesn't shout anything when innocents appear. It slowly scrolls to the right, and there are huge portions of gameplay where you're basically doing nothing but waiting for enemies to eventually appear. This one is a real slog, and it's an ugly looking thing too. Look at those trees hastily thrown together using tiles.
Shoot! Shoot! Shoot!
And that's the Menacer 6-in-1 packing cartridge. While the common consensus on the Menacer is that it was a failed peripheral hastily thrown together to compete with the Nintendo's Super Scope, it's definitely left its mark in Sega's history, because they even bothered to re-release it in 2005, when Radica put out a plug-and-play orange handgun that contains the 6-pack software built into the device. The 2005 Menacer still requires a CRT to use, however. If you want to experience the software today, then emulation is definitely the way to go, as you can use a PC mouse and a modern display. But even then, I don't think there's really enough replay value in the 6-in-1 cart to keep you occupied outside of passing curiosity in the software. This cartridge is cheap for a reason, folks!